Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sons and Daughters of Liberty. Give me a few seconds. I'm having all kinds of issues for some odd reason with connections and stuff. Let me share this link in a couple places and we'll get started. But I've also noticed I've been having some... Hey, Free Spirit Press, am I coming in good and clear? My voice... I've noticed on my last 3 videos I've been having issues with the voice. Alright. Yeah, it's had me the last couple of days retesting all my Bluetooth. It always seems to act up when I do a live stream on Hangout, so I'm not sure what the problem is. But I switched back to my old faithful Bluetooth, which is older and dirt, but seems to work just fine, I guess. But as you guys know, I did a video earlier this week when some of these things came about, and I've been following it most of the week, and it goes on some of the stuff I've been talking about the last few weeks. Abuse, sexual stuff going on in schools, and this came up with the VOP Alpha group in Tucson, Arizona, how they had claimed they found a sex trafficking camp, clear down to the rape tree and stuff. And as the week progressed, things started to change, stories started to change, people started doing deeper investigations. I'm not taking the video down that I did. I'm happy with the way it came out, other than the audio screwed up. I kept pretty much all neutral on there. Actually, I actually want you in on this one because there's some clarifications I want to get on some legal issues that may be inherent here. But give me a second. Let me open up my Gmail so I can send you the link. I have a big issue with some things now that I've had time to follow this. One, it kind of makes me mad. There were several things this whole week that really got under my skin. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. Link sent to your Hangout. But the more and more I watch this dude from the VOP Alpha Co group, the more he opens his mouth, the more he talks about, the more I got a problem with everything that's going on. And here in a second, I'm going to play you his own, what he had to say. Then I'm going to touch on that. But I do want to point out one thing. Thursday night, sting operation went down in Atlanta, Georgia. They rescued 160 children, some as young as 3 years old. So let's not let what's happening out there in Tucson, Arizona, diminish the fact that we don't have child sex trafficking and human trafficking happening here in the U.S. And let me point out one basic fact here. There's only two ways for them to get into the U.S. It is our border and it's shipping containers, which is not that easy. It's a lot easier to get them through the border. And that's my whole problem with all this, People are saying, oh, that's fake. It's not. What may have happened out there might not be all legit and all as they said it was, but let's not miss the fact that it does happen. How many sting operations has happened here since last year? How many of those children and young adults that they've rescued were from other countries? Not from the U.S. The fact that we do have smugglers and coyotes running people, trafficking people, smuggling stuff into this country on a daily basis from Texas, Arizona, California. It's well documented. I've been following this stuff since '09, back when I was supporting and running another magazine where we were supporting and pushing BACA. For those that don't know what BACA is, it's Bikers Against Child Abuse. So I've been dealing with the organizations that deal with this for a long time. It's always been, no matter what platform I'm on or what we do, it's always been something that I advocate for, to bring more attention to. And that's kind of what really got my blood boiling throughout the week, was the fact it wasn't getting attention. Even this, as we turned out, it wasn't maybe quite as accurate as it's put out to be. But it was the fact that how many people seemed so numb and ignored something that's happening in their own very own backyards. I know you want to sound off on this.
Yeah, this is one of them things that it's when you stop and you really think about it and you look at the overall situation, there's been so many things that uh Craig has been involved in. Am I coming through okay? There, by the way, for the audio.
I can hear you just fine, but that's, through Hangout, so.
um, the with Sawman, there's been so many things that he's been involved in, and it's a lot. His report and his final report, mind you, is very similar. Let's go back to last year. During Hurricane Harvey,
Mm-hmm.
he showed up there. And if you break down and you look at his report that he wrote on the situation regarding that particular place in Tucson, and the initial report, and then the final report, don't they sound a lot like the Hurricane Harvey situation? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the first thing that caught my attention. And I went back and I listened to it a couple of times, and then I just kind of like blew it off, and as kind of one of those it's a plausibility possibility kind of thing. But when you sit back and you look at how many other incidences that Mr. Sawyer has, I'm going to use the term Mr. Sawyer because he has served this country, so he does deserve that respect.
Right,
Uh,
I agree.
And I'm not going to take that away from him or the members of his organization, because they have done some righteous things. And in the last year or so, though, I begin to question some of those things. But when you look at the Houston, Texas takeaways that they were spouting off, and they were saying of things that were being reported as happening, and they flew down there and all armed to the teeth, like they normally would in a situation like that, and then only to find out that, oh, it's not happening. And then you hear from others that were already there, and you have real entities like the Cajun Navy and the Cajun Army coming back with their boats shot up, and officers coming back getting shot at, and patrol boats getting actual Houston Fire Department and fire and rescue boats being shot up. And then within a week of that, he comes out and says, oh, well, these are just isolated incidences. And ultimately, he came back in a final video and said they were false accusations. Well, how do you explain 42 vessels with large caliber bullet holes through and through? How can you take away from that?
Right. I remember seeing the reports of that.
So then you know exactly what I'm making reference to. And this, the first video that he put out, and then this final video that he put out, they virtually mirror one another, just different verbiage, but they're saying essentially the same thing. And it's like talk like a politician talking out of both sides of his mouth. And if Mr. Sawyer's got a problem with that, with what I say, well, then he can come at me and say it. And I'm not saying it in disrespect. I'm just saying, you show me the proof, because in not one of his videos did he show the 100% proof of all 100% video rolling. They hid 99% of the footage. All they were going off of is one figurehead speaking, and just a couple of snapshots was all they would release to the public.
Well, see, I've got an issue with Mr. Sawyer myself right now. I got an issue with both parties. One, anybody can stand in front of a huge camera and, flash some papers that look like they got, or court documents, or police documents. Anybody can do that.
Right.
My other problem is on Thursday, you can see what I'm sharing on screen, he did a video and uploaded it to his channel with John B. Wells, where he confirmed 3 things that he had seen that was there. Then he comes out with this retraction video on Friday, saying none of it was legit. All, their investigations were done. Okay, cool. I personally would love to see those documents.
Yeah.
On top of that, we're talking about a man who's doing, on his own mouth, because he first appeared on InfoWars. He was talking about this. He's also doing a documentary, which I think he covered also in this video, which, mind you, is no longer up. He took everything down.
Yep.
Talking about, he's doing a documentary about all this stuff for Netflix, which right there, could be a conflict of interest.
I mean,
even John B. Wills questioned him on the fact, well, because, he's working with the alphabet agencies as well in this, which he should be. You know, but he goes, well, we know how they do that. We know how they work. And he just trailed off and left it at that. But, you know, when this whole story comes out, the thing I see is, okay, right now, I'm going with what Sawyer said. Because, as I'm going to share here in a little bit this video, which I've got the link in the description, you guys can watch it for yourself. This man that's over there in Tucson, Arizona, if what he says is true, he's committed multiple felonies. By tampering with evidence, removing evidence from a potential crime scene, and withholding evidence.
Yeah, and those are all high-grade felonies.
You know, I have an issue right there, so anything this guy says or asks for, I cannot support. Because then the fact you don't want media there. We're talking about children being trafficked into sex trades. You're talking about maybe a potential of a rape tree. And, you know, by his claims, they said they've got evidence. They've bagged at condoms, lube, and the such. And they took it from the scene because the cops were ignoring it, weren't processing it. And I will play that video.
So my question then automatically, and if Mr. Sawyer, if you're hearing this, if you bagged and tagged all of said evidence, then and TPD refused to want to process any of the evidence, then my question is who then did you turn said evidence over? Because if TPD did not want to investigate this, then you take it to Arizona Public Safety or Arizona State Patrol and to the crime lab at the state level. If they refuse to test said items, then you would then take it to the next level, because he has worked with the alphabet groups, and they do periodically work with fringe groups like the VOA and that. So my question would be then, did
let me correct you. It's not Sawyer that has the evidence, but Sawyer's seen the evidence according to whoever this guy is for that VOA Alpha Co Polanski group is.
So then if
these guys got it, not Sawyer. Sawyer didn't have that evidence.
So then if Alpha Company has the evidence, then they are required then to either A, turn said evidence over to Arizona State Patrol or Highway Patrol, excuse me, because it's Arizona, it's Highway Patrol, or they need to turn it over to the federal agency, which is based in Phoenix. I believe they've got an office in Phoenix, and let them decide whether or not to send in the dogs and let the feds do a more thorough investigation, because they have the tools that these guys can't even begin to fathom.
Here, actually, let me just play this YouTube or Facebook video, because this is from their website, their page on Facebook.
All right, shoot it.
And the link's in the description, guys. I don't know how well the audio is going to come through. Frenzy, because we're not stopping anyone from coming out, and we got a lot of people out here. And no matter what media or everything else says, try to spread this operation. I don't care that Craig Sawyer has started changing his tune. I really don't care. Doesn't matter. It doesn't affect. Okay? He was down there and he saw that camp twice. He only came down there with media crews that we went down there and we showed him the first time. All right? Yes, we had hundreds of people who saw condoms, so they saw the lube. Okay, we had people who went in and saw everything he had, but this is even better. We had pictures, and we actually have all the materials and the physical evidence. So if you want to prove us a liar,
you can come on down and we'll show you the evidence we have. Remember, we collected bags and bags and bags because the government wasn't doing their due diligence. They weren't doing anything. So you have a bunch of people, as usual, guys, they're trying to get you to look this way. They're trying to discredit any of us out here. The first one they're going to attack is me, which is fine. Let them attack me. We're not going to give any interviews to the media. We're not going to sit here and have to justify any bullshit stories they're throwing out there and all this fake ass shit they're doing. All that is add credibility. All that is fuel to our fire, because that means we're on the right track. When they're spreading lies, creating.
I mean, as you can see, I mean, the question that somebody asked, I thought you had turned everything over to the police.
Exactly, and that is my question, and I would love to know who this gentleman that is speaking for Alpha Company, Team Polanski. I'd really like to know who he is, because he has openly admitted to, and I seen some of the comments just briefly, so you might want to tag this video based on that language alone. You may want to age restrict this video, just because you do have younger listeners.
I mean, here's the homepage for this group. I mean, they're putting videos, because I've been, like I said, following all week. Videos out. I mean, it's like every time this guy opens his mouth, he's I mean, if there's evidence, why aren't you turning it over? I mean, granted, I can see why. I mean, I can give him the benefit of doubt when you find articles like this. Tucson police chief sued for not protecting child. Tucson police chief Chris Mangus is being sued by a woman who alleges they had failed to stop several officers using her as a sex slave while serving in the Richmond jail.
And I've heard that when that's been TPD's been under investigation for some time, so by DOJ. So that's, and I believe that's sparked out of that investigation. And I'll have to, when I get back over to Facebook, I'll go and check out that very link for Team Polanski, because that is, you could pretty well expect a phone call originating out of, and that might be a live streamed phone call.
My whole issue with this happened on Thursday.
I remember that.
Metro sex trafficking sting rescues nearly 160 children, authorities say. So, I can't be on this website. It's wreaking havoc on my computer. But the link's in the description. And like I said, the youngest, 3 years old, that they rescued out of the 160. We're talking about children here. So what's happened? What this group over here, the two parties involved, Sawyer and this VOA Polanski group, so I don't really know dude's name, don't really care to know dude's name. Because what he just said, as you guys heard, hopefully, he's committed various felonies already.
And I will rest assured, I've got some things I have to do right away tomorrow morning, but rest assured that my schedule clears up after about Tuesday, Wednesday. And you can pretty well bet that I will be all over this by then, and probably set, because I've got some people that live in the Tucson area that are either familiar with this individual, and I will be doing some background information on this, and probably shoot maybe for a Wednesday evening rendezvous, either here or the backup channel.
This is probably going to work out well because I got to run.
Okay.
Something just came up and I got to go.
Okay.
But like I said, I wanted to clarify a few things from the previous video, which I was pretty neutral on it to begin with. So I'm not taking it down.
My question.
I don't want to distract from. I don't want people to realize, because what's going on here, that this shit ain't happening, because it is. I just showed you.
Right.
And
And my question is, so what happened to them 160 children? Were they successfully reunited with their families? There's been no follow-up to that article, because I've been watching said article, and I have sent media requests to the Atlanta PD inquiring about this, and it has been nothing but silence about it. Nothing. No feedback, no return, no courtesy email stating that we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
See, that's been my whole issue with all this. It's just not the media silence. It's people not wanting to share the links, not wanting to do anything. You know, and that bothers me, because it tells me that people have become so numb to this stuff because of the Pizzagate that they just blow this off as another thing, when the actuality, this shit is happening. There's cases upon cases of sting operations. You know, Dabu did an interesting video just last week, I think it was, about the Walmart in Texas.
That ties direct. I gotta believe, and this is just my thought and my theory here, that the two, because of the area and the proximity, that those two, if you look at the timeline of the two events, that this is not by accident, that the two happened right around the same time, that they are connected in some way. I mean, you just got to use a little bit of critical thinking here. If people, and that's the thing, they don't want people doing any critical thinking. But let's shoot for Wednesday night. Drew,
I might come back on and go live again.
All right.
I want this. Like I said, it's gonna take about an hour, about a half-hour drive to my brother's house, and I got to drop my mom off.
All right.
He's got to work in the morning, and he's got his kids. So, like I said, there's been some issues going on that so my mom needs to go over there to watch the kids.
Hit me up. I'm home for the night, so hit me up when you get back, and we can continue this.
Because there's a lot more I want to say on this subject.
Oh yeah, me too.
I wasn't expected to be interrupted when I started this. Like I said, that's been kind of the story of things, the way the past month has went around here. Every time I sit down to do anything, something comes up.
All right, and that'll give me enough time to throw a fish line in the water, and I will get back to you.
All right. For everybody that's watching, give us about an hour, and we'll reconvene.
All right, we'll catch y'all at then about 10 after 8, 8:30. We'll catch y'all then. Free Spirit, I'm out.
That'd be 9:30 for those of us on the East Coast.
Yeah. All right.
All right, guys. I'll catch you guys here, like I said, in an hour. I'm not done with this. So just look for the rebroadcast of this part 2.
All right.
Good night, guys.